the sun, our planet of ideals, hopes, and wishes, conjoins Pluto, the planet of darkness, power, and deep inner change on Wednesday, January 18th, urging us to face the darkness, to examine the shadows, and transform something within ourselves that leads to a better, more authentic, and honest life. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer working in whole sign house system and specializing in natal, predictive, and relationship astrology. If you'd like to know what's ahead for you in 2023, or if you'd like a natal chart reading or a relationship reading, you can check out the links down below. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I truly adore all of the comments I receive from you guys. They make my day. Before I dive in, speaking of readings, I am currently offering $23 off my 2023 readings. So it's a significant discount. You can also get a recorded reading, which is even cheaper in the shop category on my website. You can subscribe. You can become a subscriber also on my website to get monthly horoscopes. And even there's an option to get readings with me every month. And because I'm a true Virgo who has control issues, when I got into astrology, I think part of why a lot of us are into astrology is because we want to be able to work with things, right? Like we want to be able to understand them. So one of the reasons I got into astrology was trying to figure out how to work with more challenging energies of the chart. So last year when Jupiter entered Aries, I started creating candles and oils to work with different, more challenging placements or to get us through the more challenging transits. I have right now on my website, there are some items for Venus to help with your love life, for Mercury to help with communication and clarity, and I have bottled up Jupiter in Pisces, which is not gonna happen again for the next 12 years. Not until 2033, I believe, is when we'll get another Jupiter in Pisces. So check that out. All of that is out of the way. Thank you for listening. So we're talking about the sun conjoining Pluto. This goes exact at 9:44 in the morning on January 18th, Wednesday, but transits don't work as like a solid one hit, right? There is always the time to build things up. So this transit starts to build up on January 15th and it kind of lasts until January 20th, when the sun enters Aquarius and says goodbye to Pluto. The way to understand transits, I think it's sometimes nice to think of them, of planets, as like personalities or archetypes, right? And the sun represents our ideals. The sun represents the king. It's kind of this like bright, noble, aspirational energy. And, different ideals based on your sign or based on the other things in your chart. Like you may aspire to be a business owner, you may aspire to become a parent, you maybe want to be a boss of your company, or you want to be, open a volunteer company, whatever it might be. I don't think volunteer organization is the proper word. So, and based on the sign, right? Like every Aries, their noble expression is like the winner and the pioneer for like the underdogs, the representative of the underdogs, right? Like Virgo is a healer, not like a nervous, anxious Virgo, which is the more shadow side, but like, Sagittarius is the teacher. So you have these images in your head that you're working towards, and we tend to idealize them a lot. Pluto represents the shadows of things. Pluto represents the hidden side of that same ideal that you maybe don't see. So maybe you want to be like a boss of your company, but that means like taking bribes or something, right? Like there's this ideal of being a parent, but then maybe whoever is a parent ends up like snapping at their children. Not necessarily anything dramatic, but like people before they have kids a lot of times idealize what it's like to be a parent, and then they become a parent and they understand that it's not just one thing, right? Like it's a complicated living organism of a relationship that keeps changing all the time. So when the two get together, there's a few ways this can show up. So watch for it starting January 15th until January 20th. Please report with any stories if you have, or even if you're already feeling this. We have had Venus conjoin Pluto at the end of 2022, so approximately December 31st, January 1st, maybe a few days before, a few days after. So if you've already dealt with some kind of shadows and power struggles and challenges, this could be another chapter of it. And hopefully being aware of it and having a frame of reference from before could be useful for all of us to approach the situation differently. So take a look back. Some ways this can show up, right? Like Pluto intensifies things. Pluto kind of raises the volume of things on things. So you may become even more drawn towards your desires, and you may start coming across in like a very powerful and magnetic way. Take it a bit too far and you're becoming intimidating. You're becoming non-compromising, my way or the highway. You can be controlling with this energy. So where are you controlling too tightly? What are you holding on to? What are you afraid of ultimately if you are acting controlling? So power struggles are definitely possible. And sometimes maybe other people come at you and you feel like you're not doing anything wrong. But if you are involved in some kind of conflict, this can still be a great opportunity for you to look at yourself and examine yourself, because maybe you are putting out some kind of energy without understanding it. On the positive, you are more intuitive. So if you use this wisely, right? Like if you are doing some spiritual work, like if you're an astrologer or you are a tarot reader, this could be a very insightful, powerful time. Secrets might be coming out, and this could be both positive or negative, right? Like if you are an Aries rising and Pluto conjoins the sun in your house of career, there might be some kind of drama and like a boss being presented in a negative light, for example, like making you reconsider things that you thought you knew. So secrets can come out. You may be better at uncovering secrets, but you may also be like obsessive and paranoid. So walk that line between those two energies very carefully. Good time for research, good time for writing, kind of journaling, therapy, deep conversations, like kind of regression work. Like looking back at your past, lifting up the things that you haven't, and maybe things you don't want to lift up, but doing so that you can transform them and heal. So if we're looking at Libra risings, right, the sun conjunct Pluto in the house of home and family, and I'll break it down for every sign in a little bit, but like if we do look at, we look closely at things that we have covered up, and like, as if you do have any like childhood traumas, which most of us do, we tend to grow, and like the amount of experiences we have increases, so they don't take as big of a place in our lives, but they still might be quietly influencing you and your decisions and your fears, right? Or your actions in your relationship. So this could be a great time to look at that. Basically, the sun also, I did talk about Pluto putting shadow and tainting our ideals, but the sun also has the power to illuminate Plutonian things. So this is what I was just talking about with like looking at your wounds and looking at the more challenging emotions you have and warming them and embracing them and accepting them as something that is a part of you. Because Pluto, together with the sun, asks you to change something, to maybe become more honest about your dreams, maybe become more realistic. It's all about transformation, like revolution, evolution of your desires. So could be a very powerful time, right? Could be a very great for understanding oneself and relationships. or it could be a more challenging. Depends, I guess, on how much work you've done or how willing you are to be honest with yourself and with other people. Funny enough, if you're born in like 87, 88, 89, and after that, starting approximately like January 8th, 9th, you would have had Venus and Aquarius squaring your natal Pluto. So maybe you would have already dealt with some kind of shadows and questions of control in your relationships. And if you have, let me know. I know I have. So let's take a quick run through the rising signs and see what this might represent in your life. For Aries rising, Sun will conjoin Pluto in the 10th house. And let's do like positive, negative, right? Like on the negative, this could be a moment of some kind of secret coming in the professional environment. This could be the time in which you are so cutthroat when it comes to going after your goals that you accidentally or not accidentally end up hurting other people. Your boss can be, or someone you work with can be like, there can be scandal around them. There can also potentially be scandal around you, but not necessarily. Like it could just be like other people. And on the positive, maybe this is your opportunity to bring an element of like intuition to your career. Be more, talk about things that are meaningful, right? Like address some kind of challenging question at work. Transform something you have been holding on to too tightly, like let something go. Ask for advice, right? And maybe you are coming across as more powerful and charismatic, and you use that to your advantage and kind of make moves to forward your career. For Taurus rising, Sun will conjoin Pluto in the 9th house. And here we're looking at teachers, authority figures, mentors, religious figures sort of kind of falling down from the pedestal potentially, or you having some type of realization about them or about your beliefs, like your faith potentially, maybe seeing the more shadow side of it. It's like, like you find out that the priest has never paid taxes or something like that, or I don't know, do they pay taxes? Maybe they never do pay taxes. But you kind of have this moment of like facing the darkness. You may also, because 9th house deals with travel and legal matters and like publishing, there might also be like a sense of transforming something in that sector. Like maybe you've always thought that you will be a traveler and you live abroad, and then you moved and you realized that you don't really like it anymore. Power struggles when it comes to ideologies and trying to control someone is also possible. Trying to use your knowledge and the information you have to your advantage, to like trying to withhold something from other people is a challenge here. But on the positive, this could be the time where maybe you realize that your old beliefs are they no longer serve you, and you build new beliefs. You like kind of start to maybe even believe in yourself more versus relying on another human being, because we all do our best, but we are flawed, every single one of us. Maybe you find like a new guide, new guru. Great time also for like Taurus risings to dig deep into research and some kind of religious work, and like sort of dig the facts and understand the things. For Gemini rising, Sun will conjoin Pluto in the 8th house, and 8th house deals with taxes and shared resources, any money you share with other people, any kind of energy, resources, connections you share with other people. And Sun conjoining Pluto here could make you face shadows when it comes to your give and take dynamics. Like this could easily be a question of like, where are you being too controlling, right? Like maybe you're being too controlling of the resources you share with your partner, or just too controlling of the outcome of the situation, because ultimately it's good to have some unpredictability in life. You never know, the situation might surprise you. So needing to let go when it comes to shared finances, needing to address some kind of unhealthy dynamic. If you are in a relationship and your partner is holding all the cards and holding all the money, and then you have to really, like go out of your way to get some from them. So this could be the time of like addressing those things. 8th house also deals with mysteries and secrets and like intuition. So it could be a lovely time for research, which applies for most of us, but like researching, psychological work, letting go of fears, facing your fears, right? Like facing your fears, facing control issues is important here. For Cancer rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 7th house. Venus conjoined Pluto in your 7th house on January 1st. Did you face any relationship struggles, any kind of issues connected to control and power and who's in charge in your relationship? Because here the Sun in the 7th house, I think, represents your perfect image, like the perfect partner that you want to be. But when it conjoins Pluto, you may realize that, it's not all unicorns and rainbows, and things are more complicated. And maybe you need to address some kind of unhealthy dynamic in your relationship, especially if you feel like things have been repetitive a lot of times. Like, and you sort of go into a new relationship, but then things end up going the same way every single time. So might be the time to address your relationship ideals and even your existing relationship, and try, to be very honest and not like manipulative in any way, and heal a part of you or heal a relationship, but through it also healing yourself. For Leo rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 6th house. And here we're looking at the shadows of your professional life, potentially people you work with, your colleagues, right? Like there might be some kind of conflict, some kind of tension and difficulty when it comes to your professional relationship that you need to address. Make sure that you're not coming across as like extremely controlling and the one who has all the answers and the one who's in charge. You may be facing some sort of truth about being self-defeating or having habits, especially when it comes to diet, exercise, your work life, that are not good for you. And then this could be your opportunity to examine them and set them free, and examine your relationships with people you work with and try to avoid drama, right? Like don't be the one who creates more drama. We never want that. For Virgo rising, Sun will conjoin Pluto in the 5th house. And 5th house is the place of sex, romance, creativity, children, joy. So when the Sun conjoins Pluto here, you are looking at the shadow side of relationships and the shadow side of romance and the shadow side of sex, right? Like sometimes we all have like weaknesses and vulnerabilities, but sometimes people can use sex as a weapon. Someone goes around with their weapon. Anyways, never mind. But like here you're sort of examining your approach to fun, right? And maybe the problem is that you're not having enough fun. Maybe the problem is that you're being too kind of controlling in the way that you let loose, which is very counterintuitive, right? So maybe you don't let loose, and Sun conjunct Pluto could be the time that you realize that you actually need a break and you need to rest. Or this could be the time with like Sun conjunct Pluto where, you used to live a lifestyle where you thought it's all fun and you need to be your young once and you're having all the greatest time. And then with the Sun Pluto, you get your heart broken. I don't wish for any Virgo rising to get their heart broken, but this could be an opportunity to like examine the choices you're making, examine people you let into your life, and, do things differently. And creatively too, like watch out that you're not controlling too tightly to the outcome of the creative project, or you're not being too kind of Sometimes there might be fears with the Sun Pluto, the fears of your work being stolen, and maybe like paralysis where you don't do any work, you don't create anything because you have all these fears. So this could be your opportunity to examine those fears. For Libra rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 4th house, and here you might be examining difficulties in the home, right? You may literally have like a neighbor who disturbs you and who is distracting you from having a peaceful night of sleep, for example. Or there might be a family dynamic that needs to be addressed. There might be something in you might get like activated, right? Like some kind of old wound can be revisited. Some kind of darkness can come out, like a pimple being burst. Be mindful, right? Like if you are feeling the pain, if you're feeling lost, or if you're feeling vulnerable and you just want to like close down, or you want to act controlling, try to approach things differently. Try to be better towards yourself, be like kind with yourself, and try to let the feelings come up so that you can release them in a healthy way. For Scorpio rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 3rd house, and you may be dealing with a difficult sibling or neighbor dynamic, some kind of power struggle that has been a thing for a while, and maybe it's reaching a boiling point where you no longer wish to deal with it. 3rd house deals with communication, and there may be like harsh words getting exchanged, or just like, you know, getting messages that affect you somehow, and maybe needing to rethink how you express yourself, right? Like, are you unhappy with the dynamic you have in your life, but maybe you're not saying it? Maybe you're hoping for the other person to figure it out, and then you're trying to like manipulate them into doing the things you want them to do. So be careful. Use this energy for maybe some kind of creative breakthrough, for research, for reading about things that interest you, and practicing radical honesty and vulnerability. How hard is that, right? For Sagittarius rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 2nd house. And here you are looking at the money matters, but also underneath it all, some kind of questions of self-worth. So with Sun conjunct Pluto in the 2nd house, you may be looking at your connection to money, your relationship with money, right? Like, are you feeling like money is the only saving grace and you really need to have a lot? Like, or are you spending it all because you feel like you need to enjoy life to the fullest? So you may be examining kind of wrong ideals or issues connected to finances, needing to rethink something connected to finances. Any power struggles when it comes to like you holding on too tightly to your money, not giving money to your partner, or kind of hiding how much you have from them, will need to be addressed. And because it's also the house of values, right? And if you're not in a relationship, this might be the question of self-worth, and like, are you assigning the value to something outside of yourself? And maybe it's the time to look within and see how you can better value yourself and care for yourself and treat yourself and spend money on yourself, like if you haven't been that much. For Capricorn rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 1st house. Capricorn risings have been dealing with Pluto in their 1st house for like ever, since 2008. But here the Sun conjoins Pluto in your 1st house, and you're needing to take a look at how you show up in the world, right? Like how you... Because like if you're dealing with this transit, there might be some kind of attacks on your character or conflicts that you are facing, and it feels like people are against you, or you're working through some kind of like intense, challenging experience and episode in your life. But this is, I think, an opportunity to examine how you show up and how you deal with conflict and how you approach difficulty, and perhaps find a way to focus on you, right? Like focus on you instead of focusing on other people. A chance to transform an old version of yourself. You've been doing that since 2008, but there might be another opportunity to release an old habit, to release even, you know, the painful experience that you thought defined you, or something that you thought defined you, just let that go. Set it free. Accept that you are not defined by a specific thing, and you are a living soul, right? Or whatever you'd like to define yourself as. But I think, you know, we're not our thoughts, we're not the clothes we wear, we're not our job, we're so much more than that. So I think here it could be about learning that. For Aqua rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 12th house, and you may be dealing with some kind of like hidden, like there might be like a secret enemy you have, but more often than not, 12th house represents hidden enemy that is you yourself. So with the Sun conjunct Pluto, you are looking at the shadow side of your desires, of your self-defeating tendencies. I think like whatever you're planning to accomplish, whatever you're going towards, you first need to release something. And that might be a negative self-talk, that might be a tendency to gossip, or a tendency to put yourself down, or maybe like drinking too much. And so with the Sun conjunct Pluto, you really are like, you're getting like a double illumination of the subconscious sector of your chart, where you are likely the person who's holding yourself back, and you gotta cut it out. Cut it out. So use this transit to be more introspective. Could be a great time for therapy, journaling, or spiritual work. For Pisces rising, Sun conjoins Pluto in the 11th house, and here you may be dealing with power struggles in friendships. Secrets may come out about your friendship circle. Maybe you feel like things are changing, but you're not ready to let someone go. Like, let's say a friend is moving out. So on the negative, you may try to control things and control your relationship with them, but that's not how things work. You really need to be more flexible and adaptable. 11th house deals with your self-image. Not really. I'm thinking of Pluto. I'm thinking of Saturn going in your first house. But, you know, they will be aspecting one another. So 11th house deals with your hopes and dreams. And with Saturn about to go in your first house, you may be venturing on a new chapter of your life. You're going towards like new plans, new projects. So with the Sun conjoining Pluto in the 11th house, you may need to look at, you know, what drives you. Are you pursuing things that are just about the money, let's say, like pursuing jobs that bring you money, but that will not make you happy? Do you think that having a lot of money will make your life better? But like, what if it makes you miserable, and then your relationships are miserable? So examine your motivations, examine your networks, examine people you surround yourself with, and avoid being too controlling when it comes to the outcome of the situation. Kind of trust that if you are experiencing any pain, it's like the growing pain, and walk towards the light. Follow the light of like passion and self-expression and joy in life, versus things that have already proven to you are not working. This is it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It always ends up being longer than I think it will be, but there's just a lot to talk about, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.